Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your Evelyn O'Shorty. We're going to take another look at a distillery book today. This one is called Life, but also this one is called Life. That's right, it's two comics in one. I usually will criticise distillery because books are too big for comic boxes, but in this case, I actually quite like they're doing stylistically. By having two different writers come on and tell two stories which intermingle and cross over with each other, but within the same book, it kind of really pays off with a large format really effectively. Don't get me wrong, I've seen like Ram V and Dan Waters do something similar recently, but split it over two separate books. In this case, I think having it both part of the same one is intentional and does add something. Not only that, but they have the same artist on it. Got Brian Azzarello and Stephanie Phillips on the writing, and Danielle Zejels, I really cannot pronounce that name, I'm very, very sorry, on the art, with Lee Luffridge on the colours. Now, I don't really know much about the main artist. I've not really seen that name before, tied with anything I've read, but I can tell you, fantastic. They kind of cross this really nice divide of going for realistic art style, but understanding when stylistic choices need to be made and can really add to what's going on. There's also, they have such a great understanding of depth of blackness and shadow. The inking is really, really good. Because we have like almost cyberpunk-esque cityscapes with neon lighting and advertising hoardings everywhere, the depth of the colour, the depth of the blacks for the shadows actually really does add to that. When it comes to the colouring as well, we do have Lee Luffridge, and I've talked about him before. He's fantastic. I can't really overstate enough how much I love his colouring. In a particular case, he does it really quite well with a limited colour palette. Each panel or page sometimes is just one colour. It plays around with gradiating shading. The depth of inking really does add to this one, but for the most part, each single work of art will just be one colour shaded. And if you want to know how much you can put into this and still make it work, there's one bit where we see the front wet tyre of a motorcycle reflecting city lights, and I generally got lost in it. It was beautiful, just one thing to show the capability of this man when it comes to colouring. But it does have two writers, and this is kind of the point, that it is two stories tied together in unusual ways. And it is hard concept sci-fi. And I say that because it'd be really easy to think of it as just a crime heist story with sci-fi trappings. I don't think it's the case. I think that the sci-fi is more important because there are some really, really good ideas they put in there. And also, they have absolutely no problem criticising ideas like the prison-industrial complex and overt capitalism. I tried to think of a good sci-fi analogy where people could get an idea of what kind of stuff they're doing here. And the closest I can come is Red Dwarf. It's certainly after a cyberpunk kind of thing. There's far more exploration of other planets, but it'd be so prohibitively expensive. There's no like warp travel or teleportation or ripping through the gates of hell to go somewhere else. It does take a long time to get there. It makes it very expensive. Only the ultra wealthy or capitalists trying to asset strip resources will be willing to do it because they could recoup their investment. And it does criticise that quite heavily. But it does have crime elements to it. Basically, you have one half of the comic book is some very cool, crisp people. One guy who just got out of jail promising he's going to give up forever, but he gets roped in for one last job, and they're going to do a space heist. And the other half of it is basically murderers, sex offenders, I want to say murdering mass murderers, multiple murderers, family annihilators, basically the more unforgivable side of things. And I kind of like that balance between the two. I think it's got room later in the arc, not in this comic book, unfortunately, for now at least, but it's got room to actually look at how we see those two different types of criminality. Because yes, the people going and doing the heist are all cool and look very attractive and ride around on cool sci-fi motorbikes, have amazing apartments. And we're kind of taught that it's okay to appreciate what they do. They usually pull off amazing heists where nobody really gets hurt and they can steal from very wealthy people and they get away with it because they're better than the targets, they're more clever. But then you've got the other side of it where it's like you're okay to absolutely hate these people. They have done demonstrably terrible things. But as an anarchist, I kind of like looking at causes of crime and why people are treated differently, why some crimes are considered worse than others. And yes, some of it's dead easy. Murder compared to theft, yes, those are two very different crimes. But I think there's room in this story to actually look at how they're treated. Because one of the big sci-fi concepts they have in here is how these people are treated. I really don't want to get too much into spoiling plot development and actually explaining exactly what the sci-fi beats are, but I can tell you they are really effective. They add layers to the world in very interesting ways, not just in terms of story beats, which make it a compelling thing to read, but also adding this idea of how people within the world respond to the various things that are going on within it. I don't know if it's going to go the way I'm expecting and really looking into how bad the prison industrial complex is and how criminality is treated, depending on what kind of crimes you do. Even if it doesn't do any of that, even if it is just this really cool hard sci-fi stroke heist movie, It's going to be really well written, and it's going to look fantastic. I genuinely think this is going to be great, and I can't wait to see what happens next. That's it for me for now, though. Until I come back, make sure you look after each other, stay safe. Bye!